Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
I'm Zede Donahue.
And today we're going to start this is going to be the inaugural episode in a series called Feel Free to Compliment Me.
I thought it was feel free to compliment me at any time.
That's kind of long, I guess.
Oh.
But you're right. That's
Originally. The original story stems from at any time.
That's right. So we were having a class. Linda Bertine was teaching.
It's actually called a sew-in.
A lock-in, a sew-in.
We were locked in.
Yeah.
We had a dinner, and then we were going to sew till we fell asleep.
All night long.
Right.
Yes. So we're having this lock-in, and we were doing like a slice and dice quilt. Linda Bertine was running the class. And there was a customer there named Gina.
Gina actually was working for us, I think, at the time.
I think she was too. And she is like, Linda, I don't understand. Come over here. Da, 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 da. You know, I don't understand this. And so Linda goes over there and helps her out. And
Do you know if wine was involved? I don't remember.
I don't know. I
Okay.
do know that I got like a little too tipsy.
We were probably crazy because we were, had been up for a while anyway. We were punchy.
But I hear Gina go, okay, well, feel free to compliment me at any time. And I turn and go, Gina, did you just say feel free to compliment me? And she was like, no. You know, like that. She literally, no, I didn't say that. I said, feel free to correct me at any, and I was like,
I thought it was come help me at any time.
Maybe that's right. Maybe that's right. Okay, well, we all really like the phrase, feel free to compliment me
at any time.
Yes. So
we use it all the time.
We'll be like, oh, I don't know how to come mark these jeans. Okay, well, feel free to compliment me at any time. Or we're cleaning the toilet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Feel free to compliment me at any time.
So today, Mom is going to give you a reason to compliment her. She's going to talk about the dog corset that she had to make for one of our dogs. A life-saving sewing operation.
It's a one-in-a-lifetime thing.
Take it away.
Believe me, it really is, because the vet even asked me if I'd make these for other people, and I said, for a price. But anyway, we had a dog who had an injury in, I guess you call it a dog groin. You know, it was under the dog's back leg.
Right, like in that kind of like
if I was on all fours, that would be my
like
groin.
Your groin. Yeah,
right.
You're right.
I'm not good about all dog anatomy. So anyway, we had this dog who had this injury. It was quite a deep cut. We found it late after it had started to get infected and my husband's like, oh, we gotta take the dog to the vet. And I'm like, oh, that dog's gonna have to have surgery. That's gonna have to be cleaned out. I'm educated as a nurse, just so everybody knows. That's why I know this part of this.
But don't email us with your medical emergency. Please hang up and call 911.
911. And I can't practice medicine anyway. I can only tell you to go to your emergency room.
There you go. Okay.
Anyway, I said to my husband, oh my gosh, that's going to have to be, the dead skin's going to have to be cut away and all this, and there's going to have to be all these dressings done. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's infected bad.
It was deep. You could
you could stick your hand in it. You could stick your hand in the
Maybe that's all the detail we should give, I guess.
Yeah, it was gory. It was not. Okay. So that was like a Sunday night. Monday morning, we take the dog to the vet. The vet said exactly what I did because I was so smart. And the dog stayed, had surgery. We picked the dog up late that afternoon. And the vet says, this dressing is going to have to be done twice a day. And there's packing in there and all of this. And okay. And of course, the dog is wearing the cone of shame because they don't want her to chew at this dressing that needs to stay intact. Well, it was really like, no matter what we did, we could not keep this dog's dressing on. In fact, things would happen that would make it worse. For instance, the cone, the dog was a big, like an oversized German Shepherd. So this was like a 100-pound dog. And when she would turn with the cone, she would jab it into the
Yeah,
incision.
it's like it went right in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we tried cutting the cone down. Well, then she could reach it. And then we tried adding something onto the cone. Then we tried vet wrap, and we were keeping her in the kennel. I mean, this was like, now we're on day 4. And my husband and I are going to bed. And we realized that, this incision is not staying clean, and this dressing is not getting done right, and all of this, even though we're playing dog hospital, every evening with this dog. And my husband says, I think the dog's going to die. How are we going to keep this dog from this infection? And I said, I think I have an idea. And he goes, what? And I go, I think I can make a corset for this dog. And he's like, well, I go, I'm not going to explain this to you because I've been thinking, and I'm.
Don't you fret. I'll make a dog corset.
I have this handled. So I actually had my one daughter, Lindsay. I said, go buy a harness that fits Ava, and I'm going to figure.
Because I just want to throw this in there. We had a time in our pet lives
Oh,
where
yes.
all animals were named after characters from the musical Evita.
Evita. That's correct.
She was Ava. The other German Shepherd was Isabel. We had a cat named Augustine. And a cat named Perone.
That's right.
I think that's the extent of it.
Was that all? But our treehouse was the Casa Rosada.
Casa Rosada, yes. So you say to go buy a harness.
Right. I said, go buy a harness that fits this dog, and I'm going to get together what I need, I think, to make a corset. Because when you're making a corset for a woman has hips, and you're making the corset sort of in on this hourglass shape.
Mhm.
Well, on a dog, you just get smaller as you go to the hips, and you don't get bigger, so you have nothing to keep the corset in place.
Well, and I might be skipping ahead a little bit here, but
Yeah.
that was part of the problem with like
the vet wrap.
the vet wrap is it would just slide down her
And
body.
it would roll into it would
And-
slide down and like roll into the
roll
incision.
into the wound and then
Right.
just roll
Right.
back. It wouldn't stay up.
Right. We
toward
just
her
couldn't keep
shoulders.
anything.
Yeah.
Plus, this dressing was called what you call a wet to dry, where you take saline on gauze and you stuff it in this incision, and then it's supposed to dry during the course of being in there. And then when you pull the gauze out, it makes sure any dead tissue or any bad tissue would come out with it. It's supposed to be wet when you put it in and then dry when you take it out.
Do we get to use the word necrotic?
You can.
Okay, 'cause I like that word.
That
Okay.
keeps it from right. So you don't get necrotic tissue. That's why
Thanks.
you're doing that. You're
Okay.
debriding the wound. So the wet to dry dressing is debriding the wound every time you change it.
Thanks for using the
And
word
if there's
necrotic.
any necrotic tissue, it will hopefully take it out.
Okay.
And if you see a little bleeding, that's good. It means that's new.
New
what
tissue.
we call
new,
it's granulating, but it's new tissue because
Yeah.
it's got a new blood supply
Okay.
to it. Okay. So you want that granulation where you might see a little bit of blood sometimes.
Okay. So you told Lindsay to get a harness.
So I tell Lindsay to get a harness, and she's like, I go, just make sure it fits the dog. Here's her measurements.
Of course.
Yes, of course I've measured the dog. But my I have to make this corset, and I have to make this stiff overlaying thing so it won't roll, so I can get this in. So I make this dog corset. It truly has boning in it,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And I've measured it to fit the dog. And then it also has a breathable window
Yeah.
that goes over the spot where the dressing is so
Mhm.
that it can go from wet to dry. It
It's-
will dry, during the day.
It was like netting.
It was netting, yeah.
From like what you would put like in a lingerie bag. Is that right?
Actually, I used like a sports.
A
it was
sports-
It
oh, a
was
sports
sports
material.
netting.
Okay,
A sports
okay.
that like you see a sports jerseys made
Mhm,
out of.
okay.
That's what I used. So it had boning. It came around and Velcroed on the top, like you looped it through on the buttonholes, and then it Velcroed to the back of the harness so it wouldn't slide up and down off the body.
Sure.
But the way it Velcroed on the top, sort of, if anybody's ever laced up a corset in the back,
Mhm.
that's kind of how it was Velcroing along the top of her back.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you can make it as snug or as unsnug as you needed to. And I wanted it to be comfortable because I didn't want her to try and tear it off.
Right.
So I made one. And it worked. And we had this long-haired black German Shepherd running around we live kind of out in the country. We have some acreage, running around our land in women's underwear.
Yeah, it was.
And of course, it was white.
No, it
She's
was
black.
white. And it had a pattern to it, wasn't it?
Right, right. No, it
slightly
was
brocade
true corset,
or something.
brocade, corset material. And it was lycra. It did have some stretch to it. And of course, once that one worked, I made a second one so that we washed one, as we changed the dressing every day, we washed one. So Lindsay takes the dog to the vet because the vet hasn't heard from us. I'm pretty sure he thinks the dog's dying.
Right.
Because we had called him up every day in a row going, we can't, keep this dressing on. She takes the dog to the vet after a week to see if, they feel that the wound is doing well. And the vet goes, this is incredible. Your mother's a genius. So feel free to compliment me at any time.
Oh, yeah. The vet felt free to compliment you.
The vet thought I was cool.
Didn't he say, he said something like, what do you do when you have to wash this one?
Right. What he had done is he had taken off that corset to redress it, to examine it and redress it. And then he started to put that one, the dirty one back on. And Lindsay said, oh, no. We have two.
You're right.
And she had brought the clean one for him to put back on. So then he was even more impressed, that I had made two. Right.
Well, and let's just say right here, if you're interested to know what the heck this thing looks like.
And the dog lived.
Yeah, the dog lived. The dog lived. We did a video on it.
We did.
We could do another series on animal sewing. We did a little video series called Inside Zede Sewing Studio a few years ago, and the first half of one of the episodes was Mom showing the dog corset on a dog who we have now.
Actually, it's a different dog because that dog later did die.
Not
die. Of her groin incision, but something else.
Something else. And so we have the current dog that we have now. Mom puts the corset on. She describes this, and so she shows that. And so I'll put a link to that.
And the dog did a really good job in the video.
She did. She's
excellent.
A good performer. And the second half of that video is Sarah's beekeeping suit.
That's right. There's a beekeeping suit if anybody's interested in a beekeeping suit.
Feel free to compliment Sarah and her mom.
And Betty.
Right. Sarah and Betty on the beekeeping suit. So anyway, that is Mom's first feel free to compliment me story. There will be more to come.
It's the first story I've told you. It's not my first story. And it won't be my last.
So keep an eye out for more of those. Thank you all for listening.
So long and be happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.